So I'm heading into the hospital to do a frozen section right now. I'm a pathologist. A pathologist is a doctor that looks at biopsies and makes diagnoses. So I don't see patients face to face, I just see parts of them. And I'm the doctor's doctor, as they would say. So most of my day-to-day work is really just sitting in front of a microscope, looking at slides, but we do take call, and call is usually taken from home, so I have to stay until 5, and then as long as nothing else is going on, I head home. Call is mainly for the ORs, so the operating rooms, so I'm pretty much at the beck and call of the surgeons. If they need me for something, if they need me to make an immediate diagnosis, that's a frozen section. So if they're in an OR, they have the patient open and they find something and they need to know, is it benign or malignant, then they call me and I do some special processing of the tissue so that we can cut it on a slide, and I can tell them within 20 minutes what they're dealing with. So in this case, I knew that this case was going on today. It was supposed to start earlier in the day. It's a neurosurgery, it's brain surgery, and these typically get delayed a bit. The case before this was still going when I left work at 5. I stayed a little bit later today because I was editing a video. I left at 6:30 and it was still going on. But I knew that they were going to call me back in, because they usually do. I mean, you're going in for a brain mass and you want to make sure that you are getting adequate tissue. So in this case, like I said, that sometimes they need to know what they're dealing with, but also they want to know that they have adequate tissue, that I'm going to have enough to make a diagnosis with. So this case, they called me right at 8:40, which was, the kids had literally just gotten home at 8 o'clock. Tonight was a late night. They went to karate. It was black stripe testing. And for Alex is one step away from a black belt. So black stripe testing pretty much takes an hour to 2 hours each month. And tonight was the night for that. So Al had to try and keep the other 3 kids happy at the dojo for 2 hours while Alex did his testing. And that is not an easy feat these days with Bryce, because Bryce just wants to be into everything, and the dojo is not a big space. So they had literally just gotten home. We ended up picking up dinner. They chose to get dinner from Arby's. We had to have a fast food night every once in a while, and that was tonight. So they had literally just gotten home, eaten their dinner. I had Bryce in my arms and I was about to dip him in the bathtub when I got the call. And now I've left Al to put all 4 kids to bed. So I'm hoping that this goes quickly and that the specimen is waiting there when I get there, and that it's that it's adequate tissue. I'm heading in right now. It's 8:50. I'm hoping they have the specimen already. Right now I'm checking on the patient. Looks like he's in OR 13. This case was supposed to start at 1:35 today. That's not atypical for these brain procedures. So they're in OR 13. I'm going to give them a quick call. So basically all done. That was an easy one, thank goodness. At least with frozen sections, they're not expecting a diagnosis. They're not expecting a diagnosis right away. They just want to know, or not necessarily. They just want to know if they have lesional tissue or not. So in this case, they definitely did have lesional tissue. They gave me a big chunk of tissue. So now I'm going to clean up. I think I actually did it in about 20 minutes. I was pretty proud of myself. And then I'm going to head home and see if I can help with bedtime. I can go over exactly what happens. I'm not going to show you the specimen itself, but this is called a cryostat machine. This is how we freeze the tissue so that we can cut it with a blade. When tissue comes out of the body, it's soft, and in order to cut a thin enough section that we can put on a microscope slide and look under the microscope, it has to be pretty thin. So what we do is we use what are called chucks. This is a chuck. We put some of this media on it, and then we put it in here. I have one sitting right down there, that if I needed an extra one. You put the media on it, the media turns to a solid, and then you put it on top, you attach it to your cryostat right there in the middle there, and then my blade is right here. So here's my chuck. My tissue is that pinkish, yellowish stuff right there in the middle. The white stuff is the media that's turned to solid, and here's my blade. And I basically just move this thing up and down, and there it's cutting a tissue slice for me. And then I'll put that on a slide. It's going to be hard to do with one hand, but I'll put that on a slide, and then I'll show you what that looks like. This is what it looks like when it's on the slide. Let's see. There we go. And then we use what's called a hematoxylin and eosin stain, so that the tissue has pink and purple color. The purple brings out the nuclei, which is where your chromosomes are. Oops, it's out of focus now. Anyway, the pink stains the cytoplasm, which is everything around the nucleus. And this is where we stain everything. These are our battery of stains, and we just take the slide that we just cut, and we go doot, 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 doot in each cup. And then, oops, we put one of these cover slips on top of it. It's hard to see. And then we can look at it under the microscope. I can actually get a picture with my phone through the microscope, so let's see if I can do that. Alright, there you go. There's the tissue. This is a brain tumor. All I can say is that it's not normal. I'm not exactly sure what type of brain tumor it is. I think it could be a meningioma, which is a pretty common brain tumor. Like I was saying, it's a pretty common brain tumor, and it's one that usually it's pretty easy to make a diagnosis on frozen section. But in this case, it's a little atypical looking, and it has a little bit of tissue necrosis, and the cells just don't look quite right for meningioma. So, but these get sent out to a specialist pathologist, a pathologist that specializes in neuropathology. A lot of pathology these days is specialized. I myself am a hematopathologist. I specialize in bone marrow and peripheral blood, but I also look at everything else. I look at general pathology, and then I just, when I have a bone marrow, I have expertise in that, and if anybody that I work with has a bone marrow and has a question about it, they can come to me and get my input on that marrow. So in this case, this is going to get sent out to a neuropathologist. They will do whatever they need to do to work this specimen up and come to the correct diagnosis. So my job here is done just to collect the tissue, make sure it's adequate, that whoever it's going to can make a diagnosis, and we'll package it up tomorrow when everybody else gets here, and then it'll go on its way. One good thing about coming in late, coming in after hours, is you get to park on the first floor. Alright, now it's time to go home, and I'm sure there will be at least 2 kids still awake. Alex's light is still on, and I believe it's hard. I think Sadie's is still on too, and I know I saw Aiden's on, so pretty sure that they're all still up. So like I said, 3 of the 4 were still awake when I got home. Here's Sadie. So she's got something that she brought home from school. What is that, Sadie?
It's my friend's project from our at the wax museum.
The wax museum, the living wax museum, where you had to dress up like a Native American. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I made a sand painting.
Yep, that's that painting right there. It's a sand painting. It's pretty cool, actually. Anything else you want to say before I tuck you in for bed? Because it is late, and I need to tuck you in, like, right now. All right, well, say goodnight.
Good night.